Now back here to the United States, after months of debating, countless rewrites, and a 7-hour healthcare summit later, the U.S. Congress has still not received an answer to the healthcare debate. Now next week, President Obama is expected to announce the way forward with a new plan to tackle this bipartisan battle. But when will Americans finally get some real answers? Joining me now is RT producer Lucy Kavanaugh, who spent several years covering the Hill, and she's going to break it down for us. Lucy, first, is healthcare, is it dead?
I don't think it's dead, but I think whatever we end up with is going to be a big giant mess that no one's going to be happy with. The problem is that this thing has dragged on for so long. It's been almost a year now, that for the Democrats to walk away from this without passing something, anything, is going to spell political disaster coming in the coming fall elections in November. You had President Obama campaigning on the promise to overhaul the healthcare effort, and you had Democrats promising to the constituents that they're going to overhaul the system. And so for the Democrats not to be able to achieve anything is going to give Republicans the perfect talking point. They'll be able to say, hey, you gave these guys a chance, they were in power, and what'd you get out of it? A bunch of failed promises, broken promises, and a 7.5-hour reality TV show healthcare marathon that I don't think very many people watched. So as you mentioned, I think we know that Obama is going to announce a new way forward next week. The White House didn't really offer a lot of details about that, but Nancy Pelosi hinted that they're going to try to ram through this legislation through a parliamentary tactic called reconciliation, which basically lets the Democrats push through what they have without any Republican support. And I think a lot of people will not be happy with that on both sides of the aisle.
Okay, and you mentioned this 7-hour summit. Was this just political theater?
Well, political theater makes me think of something that's exciting and fun to watch. And I think 8 hours of mind-numbing policy debate by a bunch of politicians isn't really anyone's idea of a great time. Everyone stuck to their talking points. The Republicans wanted to scrap this whole process and start over. Democrats didn't want to do that. President Obama sat there and moderated the discussion, but really no one's mind was swayed. Everyone stuck to the same exact arguments, the same talking points that we've been hearing all along. And so we really ended up with basically absolutely nothing.
Okay, was this an attempt by President Obama, this 7-hour summit, to make up for the year of healthcare debates that he didn't put on C-SPAN as he'd promised to? Was this an attempt to show more transparency like he had promised, do you think?
I think in some ways, sure. This counters the argument that some would make that Obama should have been much more open about this process. But I think more than anything, Obama had to do something big. They couldn't just promise to pass this healthcare effort and then use this, sneaky parliamentary tactic to ram through a piece of legislation that no one was actually happy with. And so Obama had to do something different. And this is a completely different form. We've never seen the President of the United States before in a televised conference sitting down with lawmakers to debate something. The problem is, I don't think a lot of people watched. The numbers don't indicate that a lot of viewers were tuning in. And the networks themselves tuned out. MSNBC went to its, I think it was the Finnish-Swedish hockey game in the middle of this. Fox, after a few hours, put the whole thing on mute and had their own talking heads, debating the various talking points. And so I don't really know who this was geared for. If it was the voters, they weren't really watching. And if it was the politicians, no one's mind was changed.
Yeah, maybe the Olympics are just more interesting than watching lawmakers fall asleep themselves in the summit. Well, Lucy, we'll have to see what happens and if they're able to deliver something in the terms of a healthcare bill or a healthcare reform.